At my husband's memorial service, my son Daniel stood at the lectern, his voice quavering, and expressed gratitude to another woman. She was the one who truly felt like family. He said. Every head in the room turned toward on the woman in the front now. Dressed in a sleek gown with flawless makeup, delicate tears glistening in her eyes. I, the actual wife, and mother set off that to the side, unseen, a ghost in my own life. Later, when the attorney revealed that my husband had bequeathed everything to her, leaving me nothing, Lord Mitchell hugged my son and flashed a victorious smile, as if she'd already claimed her prize. But then I revealed a second will, and suddenly no one in the room was smiling anymore. I never thought my life would restart at a funeral. James passed away in a sudden car crash. It was a rainy morning, and he was driving through the city. The seat brakes gave out on a turn, sending his car into a storefront. He was gone instantly. The coroner assured me he did not suffer, but I was not convinced. He deserved such a swift exit. We'd been married for 40 years. I always believed our marriage, thought not a fair detail, was sturdy, like an old house, better by time, but still standing strong. I left my career to manage our household, every detail, every corner. He would always say, I will provide for you, you don't need to work. I, trust, I trusted him foolishly, thinking it was love. At the service, I was his favorite navy coat and stood by the chapel doors, getting more nuts. The wind stung my face, my hands numb. But I kept smiling, ensuring his farewell was proper and poised. James obsessed over appearances, always caring about other opinions. Even in death, I was upholding that polished image for him. Daniel stood at the podium, only child 33, a software developer for a tech firm, wore a crisp black suit. His expression was somber, his voice steady. After sharing a eulogy for his father, he paused, eyes welling up. I want to give a special thanks, Daniel said, his voice cracking, to someone who was there for my dad in his hardest moment. Miss Laura Mitchell. A harsh spirit through he called. I gripped my purse, my fingers tightening. I thought he was about to say, my mother, in the right moment. I could almost hear it, recognition for 40 years of deprivation. Late nights at the hospital, silent sacrifices. I believed they finally saw me, but his words cut through me like a jagged knife. Sharing that hope, someone who stood by my father through his last days. Miss Laura Mitchell, a murmur rippled through the pews. From the front crowd, a woman rose, dabbing her eyes, nodding graciously. She wore a deep sapphire coat, sleek heels, impeccable makeup, her hair perfectable styled. As she said, heads turned, whisper of curiosity spreading. A defending silence roared in my ears. Laurie Mitchell. I knew her name. She was James' assistant in the company. He would later made her a senior consultant, even putting her on the board briefly. When I asked about her, he would brush it off. She is capable. Don't overthink. I recalled a company gala years ago. She handed me a glass of wine, smiling warmly, moving with confidence. I dismissed her as just another eager employee. How naive I was. Someone nearby whispered, she's sitting so close like she is part of the family. And my son, had just thanked her at his father's funeral. The ground seemed to vanish beneath me. My ears buzzed, the world titling. Morse shook my hand, offering condolences. He was a great man. Well, miss him. I nodded, mechanically programmed to respond. I planned to hold it together, but then I overheard Daniel whisper to Laura, you are the one who is really family. My teacup nearly slipped from my hand. This funeral was not just to James, it was for a secret life I never knew, and I was a stranger in it. That night, alone in our quiet house, we shared the coat and noticed his frayed dam, as if the last thread of our marriage had unrevealed. I sat at the dining table, staring at the empty chair. James' seat remained untouched, its arms cold. I had not moved it. For years, he would sit there waiting for me to serve his meal. There were still cans of his favorite craft beer in the fridge. I never liked the taste, too sharp, but he would buy a pack every week just for himself. Habits, I realized, are the coolest cage. I did not sleep. I dug out old photo albums in them. We were young, his eyes bright, my smile effortless. I found my old work ID from when I was a financial analyst at his company, confident, only seated near the head of the table. Then he said, "Quiet, I will handle everything," and I foolishly agreed. I closed the album and slipped water. The word kitchen clock ticked. All the effort, the pride I poured into our marriage was buried when he died, but a deeper betrayal awaited. The next day in the lawyer's office, every word felt like a script from someone else's office. The office smelled of paper and polished wood. A faded American flag hung on the wall, sunlight streaming through slats, cutting the floor into the strips. The law firm was James Choice, named in his estate plans. The attorney, a man in his late 50s with a deliberate tone, spoke, "Part the will, signed by Mr. James Carter 3 years ago." He said the bulk of his assets, including the primary home in Oakwood, the beach house in Cape Cod, and his remaining accounts are being quoted and to Miss Laura Mitchell. He wasn't just shocked, I felt irritated, pushed off the stage of my own story. Left in the shadows of a role I thought was mine, I glanced at Daniel. He sat rigid, studying ahead as if hearing a routine report. No surprise, no reaction, as if he would known all along. After the reading, I approached him. "You know, did not you?" I asked, my voice shaking. He met my gaze calm. Dad has his reasons. His reasons, I whispered, and the words catching what were 40 years of marriage oath. Daniel paused, then said softly he worked hard his whole life. Laura was there for him, she got him. His voice softened. Almost guilty you did not. In that moment I saw it clearly. He wasn't just losing my husband, I was losing my son. He was not honoring his father's memory. He was rewriting our family, erasing me. Not whom. I stood in the driveway, my purse heavy in my hand. I opened James closest, his sweet ties and sweetheart hung neatly, carrying the faint scent of his congling. But what lies hiding those threads? When did he decide I was not family? Was it the year I forgot his favorite scotch for our anniversary? Or earlier when I left my job to become a homemaker? I searched drawers, all files, photos, receipts in a kitchen cabinet. I found a folder of letters. One from the Cape Cold property manager was addressed to Laura, dated 6 years ago. My hands trembled. I would been to the beach house, never knowing I was a visitor in her world. That afternoon, I visited our neighbor, Ellen, a widow in her 70s with a sharp mind and a garden full of lies. When I mentioned Laura, her expression tightened. Laura was not she the one James took to those charity girls? She asked. He did not go. I forced a smile, my throat dry, as not big one events. Then stirred her coffee. I always thought they were close. She was here a few times. One Christmas, she helped James with the decorations. I froze. That Christmas, I was light up with a sprained ankle. And James said the neighbor's kid helped. When did they get close? I asked. You slipped her day, maybe 10, 12 years ago. I saw her when you were visiting your sister. I thought she was a relative, 12 years. I sat in Ellen's son room, feeling like I would wander into someone else's life. I would manage our finances, meticulously picked out his clothes, used my inheritance to save his company, reading a critics, and all along. He had been building a future for another woman. In the basement, I found a box of photos. One showed James with Laura at a corporate event, his hand on her arm. He smiled better than I would ever seen. Another included Daniel, their 20, standing with them, his grim, hesitant but warm. A note on photo's age, partially erased, said, "Our family will be real someday." Something shattered inside me, not my heart, but something deeper, trust. That night, I lit a candle and played a soft blues record, the first music I had chosen for myself in years. I realized I would live to James' tune, never dancing to my own. That ended now. I thought the betrayal was the worst of it. The will, the properties, Laura claiming her place as family, but what broke me was Daniel. He was my only child, my anchor. We met at a local dinner where he used to love milkshakes as a kid. He arrived in a coat, his posture stiff like he was at a business meeting. He set his phone face down, a signal he could leave any moment. "Why did you send Laura a legal notice?" he asked bluntly. I met his gaze. "Should I not have?" He shrugged. "She did not wrong you. Dad chose to give her the money." Today said my voice breaking. He lied to me for decades. Gave up my career, my dreams for family. I saw my mother spare ring for your tuition. Do you know what that meant to me? Daniel sighed, irritated. You always bring that up like I'm not deaf to you. His words hit like a pound. That told me. He continued. His best years were with Laura. She got him. She did not judge him like you did. I judged him because he stopped expecting me. I snapped. I called him out because he was wrong. Daniel shook his head. Dismissive. You are too old fashioned, mom. You think sacrifice is noble. Dan did not want that kind of love. I saw it then. He would feel this way for years. I just never said it. I pulled out a faded photo. When we went to the coast. I said sliding it across. You did blade for work, so it was just us. In the picture he is teeny brochure, standing on wet sand, little footprints trailing behind. I was scared of the waves clinging to me, yelling, Mommy, you knew where safety was. Daniel glanced at it silent. You worship your father, I said. He was polished, charming, but did you ever think I built the foundation for that man to exist? He looked up, a flicker of doubt in his eyes. Dad said Laura made him feel alive. You were too strong, too strong. I thought for nights, balancing budgets. Cooking towards favors, swelling tears at jams, coolness while smiling. That was my strength. I tucked me a photo away and stood, you are right. That's too strong, and now I am saving that strength for me. I did not hear his reply. I walked out into the rain. The drop steady on my car's window sheet, and did not cry. I sat in the driver's seat, realizing I would lose my husband, my family, my son. But I also knew I could no longer let others define me. It was time to live for myself. At first, I thought Laura was a midlife flying, a schemer who slipped in. But she was not. She would plan it all one rainy afternoon. I sat with cold tea, scrolling her public Instagram. Her profile showed her on a beach, smiling, the background softly blurred. Hero by Reed, a textual consultant, love for judge and bultering blessed by life's gentle moments. Her photos and lawn chair eating peach cobbler she baked. The caption his month's my favorite gift. Did 6 years ago when I was bedridden with scardia. James had said he was swamped with work traveling. I believed him. Now I knew he was not avoiding me. He was living another life. More photos, James in her apartment wearing the jacket I bought him. James helping her plant roses, then a video. James helping her plant roses, then a video James raising a glass at holiday party. Russ arm around Daniel, then a college kid with shaggy hair. She laughed, saying, You did dead proud of you. My hand froze. Laura was not just Sam's secret. She had been weaving herself into our family, sliding me. I called Sarah, a former colleague from James Farm, now semi-retired, helping raise her grandkids and taking freelance accounting gigs. She picked up quickly. Maggie, I heard about James. I meant to reach out. Thanks, I said, cutting to the chase. Sarah, I need help digging into something. She did not hesitate. What's your hunch? I steadied my voice. I think James funneled a company money into Laura for years, maybe for properties or other things. Sarah paused. This is not just about your marriage, Maggie. This could be fraud. I want the truth. I said, we need to the we need to meet at her place in 2 days. I went to the county library and pulled Laura's property records. A townhouse in Oakwood brought 5 years ago during a company housing initiative James led. I would visit their project joking, take me next time. He would laugh it off. He would not like it. Now I knew why it was hers. It's a cozy bungalow lined with a fading marigolds. She handed me iced tea and opened her laptop and found some old transaction logs. She said, pointing to entries, label external advisory services. The receptionist, a shell company, no real address. One transfer $60,000 made when I was recovering from surgery. Mr. Much churned. So looked at me. You sure you want to pursue this? Most people would walk away. I saved to the file to a USB drive without a word. Driving home, the sun glared through the windshield. The radio playing a folk song. The truth comes when you stop pretending. At home, I saved Laura's Instagram photos to a faded label proof. I was no longer the woman who did her pain behind the kitchen counter. I was Maggie Carter, James' legal wife. Dino's mother erased from my own story, and I was rewriting the ending. I smelled Sarah findings to fraud lawyer. That subject suspicious transactions. I record showed transfer to Preg Advisory LLC linked to Laura. Food $100,000 over 4 5 years. Time to dog audit, sound note, possible fraudulent diversion. My soul hardened. I met a lawyer specializing in corporate fraud, a woman in her 50s with a sharp bob and nonsense tone. Send me everything, she said. I compiled 60 documents, photos, emails, records, and handed them over. She skimmed the folder, nodding, well, review this, I will call you. I thanked her, my voice steady. The next few months were a blur of meetings and feelings. We served Laura Mitchell. And the case shook the community. James from his state and his lawyer were dragged in. Daniel sided with Laura furious. We are running Dead's legacy, he said over the phone. He ruined mine. He replayed the man who betrayed his wife and Saul's mother. That's the truth. He hung up. We waited for him to call back. He did not eat his tongue. But I pressed on. In court, Lauren's team called it a misunderstanding, claiming she found were legitimate. I spoke of our 40 years marriage, my sacrifices, the betrayal's weight. The judge, a woman in her 60s with kind eyes, seemed to understand. We won. Laura had to sell the properties bought with stolen funds. She lost her job and her operation, and banished Daniel did not speak to me for years. Then at my father's funeral he called. We met, hugged, and slowly rebuilt. I shared the full story and I began to see the illusion healed. Believe, Mom, he said, smiling. When did you get to so good at standing up for yourself? I laughed. I always was. You just did not notice. I pointed to rose bush I would planted 20 years ago. It nearly died last year. I almost gave up on it, but this spring it bloomed brighter than ever. That night alone, I folded the chairs by the oak tree, took off my shoes, and walked barefoot into the house. I hung up my dress and went to bed. I knew who I was. A survivor, a fighter, freed by the truth.